How's it going, everyone? It is Prashan here, and we have a deck building panel, and I'm with Elite Company here. I shouldn't be up here right now talking, but each of these guys are going to introduce themselves and talk about themselves, and we're going to talk about some deck building. So we're going to start off with Revis here.
Hi, I'm Revis. I'm a Twitch streamer. Started streaming with Marvel Snap, and yeah, I like making decks. I post decks on Twitter all the time. That's how lots of people know me. So
Hello, I am Woody, or Yo Woody. I also stream on Twitch, and I also make a lot of decks. It's probably my favorite part of Snap is deck building. Uh, like, I feel like I have like the Tetris effect, how like you sleep and you see the Tetris pieces falling in your dreams or whatever, except for building decks in Snap. Like I literally, as I'm drifting off to sleep, I'm thinking of deck ideas and stuff like that in Snap. It's like definitely my favorite part of the game. So yeah.
Alrighty, guys. Hello, I'm Husky, or Husky Puppies. I'm sitting next to an absolute liar because he told me he does not remember his dreams. It's like,
as I'm drifting.
as you're drifting, as that's sleeping. I don't care. You probably know me either from Twitch or from making you hate the game from, hella. I'm not sorry. I do it again. I will do it again. It's only a matter of time.
Hello, I'm Docty Snap on YouTube, focus on upcoming card content and building new decks around new cards that we have yet to test out, and that's always fun, kind of just trying to come up with a new deck of something completely new. And so we'll kick it back over to Prashan, and we'll get some questions kicked off.
Oh yeah, let's get this started. So, as far as creativity, what inspires you to get a deck started off? Like, is it start off like with one card? Does it start off with the whole archetype? Like, how does that creative process work?
I can start with this. I mean, so I'm a new card like enjoyer. So usually, I look for new stuff to play with. Always like, this past OTA, right? Man Thing was changed to gain 2 power, 4/7. So I start there like with one card usually, right? And then you think like, oh, what decks would use Man Thing? What can afford to play a 4/7, right? Like, so you're gonna want. Why is this? Yeah, this microphone is going a little bit crazy. Uh, and yeah, and then you just go from there, like whether you want to stick in like a Sarah control deck or an Niles Clog style deck. Um, yeah, I think finding inspiration from one card is usually my way to go. I don't know if that's what other people
For me, yeah, maybe I'll use this one. But yeah, sorry. Anyway, for me, honestly, when I am building a new deck, I feel like most of my inspiration just comes from like one, like random core idea that I have. Like the deck that I've been playing a lot recently, the Ajax like dagger move package deck. I draw inspiration from like a lot of older decks all the time. Like I have a pretty good memory when it comes to like lists that have just been floating around on ladder or that I just randomly saw on the ladder. Uh, like from like months ago that I thought were cool, and a lot of times when like new support pieces come out that I haven't considered could be used in a deck like that or something, I'll like think of a new card that came out or a card that I haven't played yet that I want to build a deck with, and then randomly I just get like an idea that clicks with some old deck I saw or something, and I just start like with a core. Like a lot of the times, I'm not building around a specific card. It's like a core idea. Like the Annihilus deck or the Ajax deck I was talking about was like a lot of people were playing this dagger package, and every Ajax deck I played had like such a weird, clunky, undefined turn 6, and I feel like it's literally like Iron Fist, Dagger, Ghost Spider is like the perfect, 4 energy play to go alongside a Hazmat after an Ajax on 5. And that is like the core idea that I build around, and that's kind of how I build all of my decks. Is like one core idea that I think is like super solid and has a lot of potential, and then I just flesh it out around that.
What about you, Husky? I know you're dying to say something.
I like to just do like one really cool thing per deck, and it's like I kind of try to think of like cool interaction, or if it's like getting an absolutely massive dagger on the last turn, bringing back everything with Hela, all the jank you can do with Phoenix Force. I really like to say, all right, this is what I'm doing. Here's how I get to it, and then just have a way to stop my opponent from not interacting with me, but like being able to mess me up. Like one of my favorite decks all time, move bounce, make a massive human torch, keep it safe in your hand because, more people are going to be running Killmonger than Black Bolt. And just sort of that little dance is just so much fun to me of, all right, I'm doing my thing. You can try to stop me. I'm going to try to go over you without dying. And it's a very fun time.
Yeah, I'm usually focused on the new cards and, trying to figure out if it's a new card that you're going to build around. Some makes a new archetype more so, like Arishem or Baron Mordo, or if it's something I think it's just going to be a good fit in an existing deck and, put it in something that I know works. Does it make the deck better? Is it worse than what I replaced it with? Is it about the same, but maybe, better in certain metas if it, counters something specifically? So just trying to figure out some of the best homes for new cards. That's always fun to play around with. I think our go-to is to have a new card come out and make it the core of a new deck, make it like the win condition. That's usually what everyone looks forward to, but a lot of cards are just supporting cards more so. And they're more there to add on to what's already built, so you don't need to reinvent the wheel every time, I feel. But in that same vein, let's say you have an existing deck, whether it's a deck you originally made or it's just a normal meta deck like a destroy or discard, or it's something you got from Husky or Woody. What's a good way to make a replacement in an existing deck? You have a deck you like, but you want maybe a surprise card or some different tech, or where do you start with making replacements to something that you know is good?
For making replacements, I find it's a little bit tricky. Everyone always asks, hey, what's a replacement for, Sage, shall we say? People didn't initially think Sage was a great card. Some people may have missed it, or like Cannonball or something. I find a good way to make a replacement is to find out what is that card's role in the deck. By taking this out, I am losing something of that role, and it's either, all right, do I try to put something kind of equivalent in to make it slightly better in a slightly different category, or do I just go like full throttle in the other way? By understanding what the deck does and what that card that you want to replace does in the first place, you can say, all right, you can just find a replacement so much easier. And I think that's something, really, I think everyone should try to do. Just like, all right, Sage is a big point slam thing that I can bounce back to hand. What's something similar to that I can replace? Rather than going with like, all right, Sage is a 3-drop. Gladiator is also a 3-drop. They're the same card.
Yeah, I mean, that was pretty much going to be my exact answer to the question, too. Just like encouraging people to, like, a very good way to get started and improve at deck building in the game is to, like, practice, making swaps to decks out of either necessity or just if you want to change what's in the deck. And I feel like it's an easy thing to do, and it's like a super simple kind of paint by numbers style exercise where it's like if somebody's playing, I was playing a Surfer deck with a Red Guardian in it, right? And people are always asking me for subs in a Surfer deck because there are so many 3-drops that are like high series that I'll be running and swapping in and out. And yeah, it's just what Husky said. Like you need to look at what the card is doing and swap it with something that can also help you do that or help you do something else that you don't have anything else to help you with. So like if you're going to sub Red Guardian in a Surfer deck, people are like, oh, can I replace it with Sage or Gladiator? And it's like, I mean, you can, but those are just giving you points where Red Guardian is providing like, utility because he can stop your opponent's stuff and he's just a tech card. So if you're going to replace a tech card, then a good place to look would be another tech card. And if you want to replace a card that is in your deck because you have a bunch of cards you want to hold and the card you're trying to replace is a card you want to curve out, you don't really want to replace that with another card you hold because it makes your curve more awkward. So you just need to look at like fundamentally what the purpose of the cards in the deck are and find something else that can do that or help with something else that you don't have anything to help with in the deck already.
Yeah, I think one important thing is that card replacements aren't always one-to-one, right? So if you identify that it's like a tech card, those are can be one-to-one, but you also need to realize that some cards are like essential to a deck's game plan, right? So you can't just replace like Wiccan in a Wiccan Loki deck. I'll use this example with Hope Summers, right? You're probably going to want to shift other cards in the deck to support the Hope Summers game plan instead. Make sure that you have like Kitty Pryde, Angela kind of stuff if, before you're running maybe like Maria Hill and Cable since you're just trying to curve, right? So being able to identify which parts of the deck rely on certain cards, I think is a really important skill to have for card replacements.
Yeah, you guys explained it perfectly well. I don't have to say anything. You guys touched my sage idea pretty early. So, as far as deck building, building a deck, we always want to post. All right, we have an 80% win rate, right? There's always someone saying 80% win rate. This is the best deck ever. So, how many games do you think is the perfect, I say, sample size to tell if a deck is good or not?
I don't know if this will be controversial, but I think it's like over 1,000 games. You need a sample size. Like, I
A
mean, I think
thousand games?
realistically, to get a feeling of
You know how many OTAs that
good
is?
of a deck it is, you need like 1,000 hours, right? So, well, yeah, I mean, like not necessarily you, right? Um, so I don't think it's necessarily like the games and the win percentage that you should be measuring when you're measuring a deck. I think you should be looking at how the game played out, and it's like, what, is what you did powerful? Was it stopped by a tech card? Was it really, were you helped by locations or not, right? Like if you have an 80% win rate with your Darkhawk deck, but like all of your matches were against Arsham, is it really the Darkhawk deck that's strong, or is it the matchups, right? So you have to take everything into consideration, which is why like I think you'd need a huge sample size if you're just going to do number of games, but you can extrapolate by taking in those variables yourself.
So I do have another question as far as that 1,000 games. So I know everyone has different play styles. Everything happens differently during your matches, correct? So you might have, let's say, a 70% win rate, but I might suck, and I might have a 40% win rate with that deck. And that just brings the win rate all together if you're trying to take that sample size of 1,000. So what do you think about that?
I think yeah. So that's where you also have to identify is like, is the deck hard to play, or are you just like doing really well at snapping and that kind of stuff, right? One thing you'll see a lot with creators is they'll post a deck with an insane win rate, and then once people start playing it, it plummets. And in my opinion, usually that means the deck is bad, um, because either one like once people know what's in the deck, it's really easy to beat, right? That's one factor. Another thing that can happen is that just the lines are too convoluted, and maybe don't line up for like your average player, right? So when I say bad, I don't mean like it's like unplayable. I mean more like that it's not going to be like a meta deck. Because like if only one person can play it, can you really call it a meta deck? Like I don't know.
What do you think?
I mean, in my opinion, like, I don't know. So, like, to post a deck and say, like, oh, 80% win rate over so and so games, there are different, like, reasons that somebody could come to that, like, sort of win rate. And a lot of it is, like, top players and stuff are, like, constantly metagaming, right? So, like, if one guy built a deck to beat like what they are seeing on ladder and they're playing these top players over and over again, uh, and they're just like metagaming them because they're all playing like whatever is really good or they just know what's in their decks. Like, um, there is somebody in a Discord group chat I'm part of that's been playing like a Sentry Nihilist deck, but with Killmonger in it, and like really like strict and taking advantage of like a lot of Zoo and Loki stuff, just running a bunch of 1-drops. And I played the deck a couple days ago, and I did not see any of that stuff, and I like it was terrible. It was like the clunkiest deck ever. And then like the day before when he was playing it, he was just farming people with Killmonger, and it's kind of the same thing like that. Like if somebody is playing a deck that's just like super, cheesy metagamey, taking advantage of whatever their pocket meta is, and then like they post it, and people either aren't seeing that, or because like they're popularizing it, people are just not playing decks that die to it like that. It can also definitely affect the win rate and cube rate of a deck, and it's kind of like important for people to be able to look at that and see when a deck is just like super hard angled at one thing. And decks that are like that, when posted by creators, I feel like a lot of the time just automatically do worse, because since people are playing that thing now, everyone's going to stop playing the thing that dies to it. Like when a bunch of people started playing the Goblins Ravonna Ajax deck that I've been playing recently, then like after that, I feel like I saw way more Annihilus on the ladder, and it became way harder to play, and people immediately started playing it less after that. So that's also kind of a factor to like whether or not a deck can be good. It's kind of like similar to what Revis was saying, was like, is it really that good if somebody can just be like, okay, well, this exists now, so I'm going to start playing this, and now it's not even that good?
What do you think, Husky?
I'll be real. I was just messing around with chat for that amount of time. I wasn't listening to what he was saying. I have a message from Butt Squad. He said Killmonger is still farming with that deck. Straws was saying that you look swole. I told him he was wrong. He doesn't believe me. But also wanted to ask what you think of the best combo in the game, which is on turn 5, you end your turn by playing M'Baku. And then on turn 6, you play Blink, getting a guaranteed M'Baku to jump out of your deck to the lowest power location if that isn't full. That's pretty good.
This
What
is
do
a
you think?
question for me.
Yeah, sure. What are your thoughts on the best combo of all time? When would you snap with it?
I would snap turn 1 if it was in my hand. Sounds OP.
Yeah, especially if you have America Chavez on turn 1.
Yeah.
That's pretty good. Imagine like you tell someone in like in the old days of Marvel Snap, it's like I just played out America Chavez on turn 1. Yeah, they'd say snap. That's pretty good. I have nothing useful to add. Your turn.
Yeah, well, how about another question here? Let's say you're building a deck to play in ranked mode versus conquest. What are the differences there? Do you build the same if you're preparing for both, or would you build decks with kind of different things in mind, knowing this deck maybe is more meant for ranked mode or for conquest? What do you think?
Most decks to me are pretty much fine in either one. I think the main difference, at least to me, is twofold. Well, one. One, you don't really want to have any dead matchups. On ladder, you can get out of there for one. In Conquest, you're stuck in there for, until you die, which is really, really annoying when you just go and ask the boss a question. How am I so freaking handsome? The camera's very blurry. That helps a lot. But yeah, so long as not having dead matchups is really, really important, because your entire run in Conquest can end, rather than just like, oh, that's a drop in the bucket for ladder. Also, you don't want to play decks that are it's kind of like card counting in blackjack, or sort of those style decks. Hella negative, those really high rolly decks where you're gonna like win 1 or 2, lose 8. Because in Conquest, like, you're going up Infinite Conquest. If you, let's say you're going to win a lot more than you're going to lose, because, your deck's good. However, if you have a deck that can have just those unlucky high rolls, because you can just die in the Conquest there. You don't need to, go plus 100 cubes over 1,000 games. You need to go, 50 before your opponents do in Conquest. And you kind of want to not not have too much of that RNG.
Yeah, I would agree. In my opinion, when people ask me like what's good in Conquest, what's good on Ladder, I think it's mostly the same exact stuff. But I feel like whenever I'm playing Conquest, my tendency, if I want to adjust a deck because I hate having dead matchups in Conquest, like Husky was talking about, is just find like the 11th and 12th cards in a deck, so like the least core, most flexible cards in a deck, and replace them with like really solid answers to stuff that I did not have answers for to like cover my blind spots. That's pretty much like all I change about my deck building in Ladder versus Conquest.
I like to think that I have some Conquest knowledge, but yeah, I think like at the end of the day, the decks that are good on Ladder and Conquest is the same because you're playing the same game of Marvel Snap. Where you do have the flexibility is with rotating cards to either make your hard matchups winnable or your good matchups better. And I think the most important thing when deciding to do that is realizing like how popular the matchup is, because like I don't think it's actually worth teching for your worst matchup if it's not that popular. Like if you run into it, like it sucks, leave. But like yeah, it's you don't want to you don't want to lower your win rate like across the field, like because if you do that, you're gonna have a much worse time, especially if you're trying to win like so many in a row, right? Um, Obviously, the better player you are, I think the more flexibility you have doing that, like the better snapper in Conquest, right? Where if you know you're in a bad matchup, right, you want to try and bring them in for the 8 cubes and stuff, right? But when you're building the deck itself, like try and think about like not making it too much worse just for that one matchup that you don't like.
All right. Yeah, we have some questions that are in the chat. And if there's anyone out in the audience, if you guys want to ask a question for these esteemed gentlemen here, you're more than
right.
welcome. But I'll let Husky take the floor and take the chat.
All right, sure thing. I'll just go back and forth asking some questions from the chat. Let's see. Favorite archetype of all time to play? Archetype.
I love me some Lockdown. I love doing Storm Legion. Just lock you out of the game. You can't play. Back when Professor X, before he got changed, I was eating that up. I do not want to let people play the game. I love locking it down by turn 5. I'm that guy.
You are not a good person, but that means I like you. All right. This question is for Husky Puppies. My least favorite location and favorite location in Snap. Shit, I don't know. I really don't like TVA, but just because most of my decks like take the full 6 turns that I thought I was going to get, to do its thing. But no, they're like, oh, looky there, I have all my 1-drops that I'm gonna play my little deck that deck 13, and it's I don't like that. Also, that being yoinked away with like location change is just something that's always on the back of my mind, and it's too much thinking. I don't like it. Favorite location in Snap? I really like Dream Dimension. That's a controversial take. It's like, okay, back when I played my Hella decks, it's like Dream Dimension is like I get to play my turn 5 normally. You just don't get to play your turn 5. It's like it's just like the suffering that they get from the joy that I get. Oh, it's a beautiful thing. All right, let's see. Do you have this one's for Yo Woody MJ on Twitch.television, using his full name. Do you have a message to all the stream snipers?
I don't even know how to answer that question. Not really. Hello, welcome to the stream snipers.
No, not like just in general. Like,
Yeah.
You just like fuck you or anything like that? No.
Not really. I don't care.
What? Oh, you have one?
If you're gonna stream snipe, you gotta at least sub to the streamer. Like, they're gifting you cubes, you gotta gift them some money.
I like
okay?
that. All right, I'll have another one for Woody. This is the next one down. This one's from Barzy. How can one be as lucky as Husky with Hella?
Honestly, the answer is just like have Husky in a call with you, because when I'm playing Hella and Husky is not there, my luck is so bad. And then if Husky is in a call with me, I don't think it might not actually be luck. It might be that he's helping me make some plays that are increasing my odds of winning because he's pretty cracked with Hella. But it feels like I'm luckier.
All
And
right.
then I have a question too. What are your guys' thoughts on deck credit? Deck credit.
Deck credit. Oh, this one's fun.
I saw Revis just touch his glasses, so we'll let him go.
Yeah, I mean everyone loves deck credit drama. As I know, I mean like I think it's important that like if you're sourcing and you like, especially if it's the same exact 12 card list that you saw from somebody else or you saw from Untap, that you just put like effort into like just saying like, oh, inspired by this person or from this person. Uh, I don't think like it's necessary to like go all the way back through like and search for like the origin of like certain archetypes, but like when something that hasn't been played for a while resurfaces, usually there's like a reason behind it, right? So, um, I think it's important from the aspect where it's just like, oh, you're not just copying people and then like trying to sell it off as your own, right? I think like if you miss deck credit and you're not saying like it's your own list, I think that's fine as well. Where it's like a little bit iffy, it's like you're saying like, oh, you came up with this, but really like, oh, you pulled it off of Untapped, and there's like already like 500 or 1,000 games on it. Like, probably you didn't come up with it. Yeah, that's just my opinion. We'll share that.
Yeah, I think deck credit is important personally, and that is mainly because of my lived experience with deck credit. Like a lot of people discovered my channel and discovered me as a creator because of like Dara or even like Revis when I was way smaller than him playing a deck that I made or that somebody said I made and crediting me for it, or somebody on Twitter crediting me for it, and it's kind of how I got like a better rep or a reputation as one of the better deck builders. And I think it is. I don't know. I think it's important. I think it makes me feel cool when somebody else says like, yeah, what do you made this? It's cracked or whatever. And like when I'm crediting somebody else for their deck, um, I like to. I don't know. I just like to bring people up and like let people know. I think it is like it's the most creative expression that I have expressed in like any medium is building decks in Snap, which is weird because it's just a 12 card deck, but I suck at like art and stuff, so it really is like where all of my creativity goes, and it just feels nice to be recognized for it. And it doesn't take that much time, and if you don't do it, it's not like I hold anything against you, but I do think that it is important, and I would rather keep it around.
All right. I have two comments. One from Butt that says every deck is big babies. You guys are liars. And one from Binks that says every deck is his and that we're stealing them from him. So
Sorry,
I'm not
Binks.
sure which one of those is true, but I think the common point is we are all stealing decks from them. There will be an apology stream later. I've got ukuleles for everyone. We're going to be crying. I've got like the little stick that you put on your eyes just to make you cry a little bit better. It's going to be great. It's going to be amazing. That'll be very fun. To actually answer the question, deck credit I think is most important if you are a streamer. Like this is something you are getting content out of, and if you're using someone else's ideas, you should at least try to find out who it was. If you can't, that's okay. But especially if you're a larger streamer who is, using someone else's, hopefully hard-made deck, try to give them a little credit. That exposure is definitely big. I got, basically my start from deck credit, going on KM's channel, like, hey, yeah, this is a deck that I'm making. Without that, I probably would not be here. But if you're not a streamer and you're just taking a streamer's deck, you don't have to name it like Husky Hella or anything like that. Like I'll steal decks from Woody. I won't name them that. Well, I'll try to, but like only about half of them. I steal them too much. But yeah, if you're a streamer, try to give like smaller streamers especially credit. It goes a long way.
Yeah, for sure.
All right,
And
that's perfect. That puts us right at time, so I think
Yeah.
we're ready to wrap up. So thank you very much for watching and listening, and stay tuned for more SnapCon activities.
For sure. And hopefully we stole your time from watching this. So thank you.